Just for those of you who don't know where we come from, actually, this is me there. After being trained as a chef in a Michelin-star restaurant, I was called to do my one-year duty with the French Army in an elite unit called the Alpine Hunters, kind of the Green Berets in the mountains. I wish I had a picture of me in white uniform with machine gun in the back, like James Bond, but that's not this one. But God worked through that experience and fears during this year to bring me to Christ. I then worked as a chef in France and Switzerland, and I later graduated from the French Reformed Seminary in Aix-en-Provence, France. During these 4 years of seminary studies, I was involved in planting a church and a Christian school. 20 years ago, we moved to Moscow for our children to attend New St. Andrews College and to support ourselves and give our sons a job so that they could put themselves through college. I started west of Paris French restaurants. Once our kids were done with NSA, I sold my restaurants and I created Huguenot Heritage in partnership with Third Millennium Ministries to bring biblical education to the French-speaking world for free. So what is Third Millennium Ministries? Dr. Pratt, the founder and president of Third Millennium Ministries, was my professor during my Doctor of Ministry studies at Reformed Seminary in Orlando. 27 years ago, he left RTS and started Third Millennium Ministries to bring biblical education to the world for free. This is what he wrote recently. Throughout history, the church has withstood hardship, often emerging stronger than before. In light of this truth, it's not surprising to me that the parts of the world that face the most serious challenges are growing the fastest. They are also the parts of the world that have the least access to biblical and theological resource. This is why Third Mill exists. Biblical education for the world for free. Third Millennium's mission is to raise awareness of the global need for pastoral training, to create a multi-language curriculum to address this need, and to distribute and implement this curriculum through a variety of technologies, media, and partnerships, all for free, and this short video will speak for itself.
I remember one time I was in a country and I was there to lead a big church planting conference of about 300 people or so, and I was introduced to the elder of the Christian church there. It was just a little block house that he lived in, a one-room house. We talked for a while with the translator, but eventually, after a few minutes, his daughter came out. She was 9 years old, beautiful little girl, and about the age of my granddaughter, my oldest granddaughter at the time. But when she came out walking on the heels of her hands like this because her legs were twisted up under her body, just gnarled up under her body. And as we left, the pastor of this church looked at me and he said, "We can fix her legs." And when I reached in my pocket, he said, no, I don't want your money. We can have her legs fixed for free in the next town at the hospital." And I said, "Then what's the problem?" He said, "Well, the Lord has told her father and me that her family is under a curse. And the only way to get the curse off of her family is for her to spend her life like this." That was her pastor saying this. That is the kind of suffering that followers of Jesus face all over the world because their pastors have never been taught the Bible. And at Third Millennium, we're going to change that. The vision that Third Millennium has is this: rather than strategically choosing this little place and that little place and this little place and that little place, instead what we want to do is create a curriculum that can be distributed everywhere so that everybody can get it in their own land, in their own language, biblical education for the world for free.
It's very simple for us. We want to teach what the Bible teaches. We decided we're going to create what we call edutainment. It's educational and it's entertaining. Not just the words of Scripture and the concepts, but theology as well.
We've got to take seminary, we've got to put it in a box, and we've got to send it to them.
Third Mill exists because we believe that every Christian deserves a well-trained pastor. There's a shortage of cash. If they have the resources, a lot of these pastors and church leaders still can't afford to go to seminary or to get advanced training in the Bible and theology.
I saw them having to leave their homes, their children, their families, their churches, and heard what happened to a lot of those families while they were gone. And I know that through Third Millennium, that doesn't have to happen anymore.
If we want to reach every pastor, every Christian leader around the world, our curriculum has to be available at every level of technology. So if you're in a place like Southern Sudan and all you have is paper, then we have our manuscripts. And then the next level up would be audio, MP3. It would be downloadable. It would be streaming on the web. Above that, we have video streaming on the web. We have it downloadable on the web. We have it in medium definition. We have it in high definition, depending on how good your internet access is.
The technology kept shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, so that now we can put 2 years of seminary, full videos of seminary, along with books, along with exams, along with all kinds of things, on a micro SD card that's about the size of my thumbnail.
Biblical education for the world for free, and the free part is a very important part of our ethic.
We want to make this as easy as possible to put into as many languages as we can to reach the most people that we can.
It's just amazing how God has brought a concert of people and ideas and beliefs together so that every single church leader in the world can now have sound theological and biblical teaching.
The result, after 27 years, is a production of a multimedia seminary-level curriculum that is equivalent to a master's degree in Bible and theology. These courses are available online in 5 core languages: English, of course, Arabic, Chinese, Russian, and Spanish. Third Mill covers the full cost to produce these 5 core languages. The Third Millennium Global Network has reached, to this point, 1,888,871 students in 26 languages from many nations. In the past 2 years, the newly created Third Mill Institutes grants certificates and has served a total of 9,034 students in 103 countries. Among those students, English is only a few amount of people. Most people don't speak English. It's in their own language. Students can earn a certificate of Christian ministry and a theological diploma. Third Mill now prioritizes, in partnership with local churches, denominations, seminaries, and organizations around the world. And Huguenot Heritage is one of these partnerships, although we raise the full amount to produce all the courses. Third Mill is very grateful to what we're doing. They recently wrote, I quote, "Progress in French curriculum has fostered growth in Francophone Africa." And if the trend continues, reliable resources predict that then by 2050, there will be 750 million French speakers in the world, mostly because of the growth in West Africa. Many of these French-speaking people are in the West Africa, where the average Christian leader has 1 hour of biblical education. The spiritual poverty that results puts the African Christian church in a very dangerous state. As we heard already today, it's full with heresies and syncretism. On the top of that, when they send their best to our Western seminaries, the pattern has been that 90% of their best does not come back home. They stay away. Huguenot Heritage exists to change that pattern. We bring seminary-level courses to the French-speaking world via the internet in a computer or in an iPhone, on thumb drives, micro SD cards, or in printed forms. People now can study sound theology in their own language, in their own country, in their own town or village, in their own living room, for free. So where are we 14 years later? We have completed the production of the French video courses for the New Testament, Kingdom, Covenants, and the New Testament, the Gospels, the Book of Acts, the Book of Hebrews, the Epistles of James, the Book of Revelation, the Heart of Paul's Theology in progress, almost done, Paul's Prison's Epistles, translation done, next video production. We have also in practical theology, he gave us the Old Testament first. For the Old Testament, God, Kingdom, Covenant, and Canon in the Old Testament, the primary history, Father Abraham, the book of Joshua, he gave us prophets, the book of Samuel in progress, almost done, the Pentateuch in progress, almost done, the prophetic vision of Hosea, translation in progress. In theology, the Apostles' Creed, we believe in God, we believe in Jesus, we believe in the Holy Spirit, what is man, building your theology. In practical theology, he gave us scriptures, a course on hermeneutics. Our next big course on practical theology is a course on Christian ethics, making biblical decisions from well-known theologian John Frame. This is the biggest theological course that we have produced so far. This course studies the Bible's system of ethics and teaches Christians to evaluate problems in ways that leads to biblical actions and solutions. This is only a little teaser trailer for a major course. It's got deep theological content that will help us be the sons of Issachar who can discern their times. If you want to stop at my table, I can give you a summary of the course content. Now, when we are done with this John Frame course, Making Biblical Decisions, we have 5 more courses to produce in order to complete the 4th curriculum for Master in Theology. This is the Biblical Doctrine of the Trinity, the Doctrine of Eschatology, Building Systematic Theology, Building Biblical Theology, and Church History. For our online students who wish to pursue the full curriculum for credits, we will provide a certificate of Christian ministry. And for those who wish to go further, we have an agreement with Birmingham Theological Seminary and Faculté Jean Calvin in France, which will take our students on a case-by-case basis. We also plan and will prefer to offer a partnership with existing seminaries in West Africa, because the idea is we don't want, again, the students to come to our Western seminaries. We like for them to stay at home in their own churches and therefore in their own seminaries to get the final diploma. Right now, our concentration for the last 14 years have been to create these courses and the massive distributions, and it started. A French man named Daniel Audon is a key player in our work. He regularly goes to French-speaking countries such as Cameroon, Ivory Coast, Chad, Burkina Faso, Senegal, Madagascar, and he, as an evangelist, goes with little radios that has the Bible in French, has the Jesus movie, and now they are adding all of our courses, theological courses for training. These are small little radios, but they also have more and more now some what we call pico projectors, which are sun-powered projectors that allows hundreds of people in small towns in the bush in Africa to be able to follow our courses in the small villages. Another part of our expansion in distribution is a project of a new platform like the Canon app to put on the internet our theological courses, lots of theological tools, books, studies, podcasts, etc. So let me close now with our most recent Huguenot Heritage update. That's going to take you where we started and where we are today.
Dr. James Kennedy once said that it is better to plant an apple tree than to pick apples. How much better, though, to plant whole orchards than to plant a single apple tree? I have spent the past 30 years of my life picking apples and planting trees by doing evangelism, training evangelists, and planting churches in both France and Quebec. However, as I survey the French-speaking world today, I see the opportunity to plant whole orchards through the training of Christian leaders. Through evangelism efforts, people have come to Christ in great numbers in French Africa, but the lack of biblical training has led to weak and shallow churches full of syncretism and heresies. The cost of sending a pastor to a Western seminary is not only prohibitively expensive, but the long distance is also unhealthy for the life of the local church that loses its pastor often permanently. Though some local seminaries exist and are doing a good job, they barely scratch the surface of the great need. Our partnership with Third Millennium Ministries has the answer. We can, in our lifetime, make biblical training available to the leaders among the 250 million French-speaking people in the whole world, in their own language, through a training tool which does not uproot future leaders from their home churches and ministries, does not require expensive seminaries in their nation, and best of all, it is completely free. With Third Millennium Ministries, we are in the process of bringing a biblically sound, comprehensive seminary education into every church and home.
Third Millennium Ministries has developed an award-winning video curriculum which offers a biblical seminary education course by course. By combining carefully crafted visual, auditory, and textual elements of teaching, Third Millennium teaches complex doctrines at a master's level, but in a way that will be accessible to French-speaking leaders worldwide, many of whom have a very limited formal education. Thanks to the advance of technology into even the most remote parts of Africa, it is now easier than ever to distribute this material. A French pastor or layman can watch the video, read the text, listen to the audio from the website, the Huguenot Heritage smartphone app, or by receiving the course on a USB thumb drive.
Establishing a bunch of seminaries to train the Francophone church worldwide would cost millions of dollars and would still uproot the Christian leaders from their homes and ministries. However, we actually give our video seminary education for free. But as you know, it's not free to produce. It costs an average of $50,000 to produce one complete video course. Once a course is produced, it can train leaders for generations to come.
This was the video we filmed to launch our Huguenot Heritage Mission. Our goal was to provide free biblical education to one of the most theologically underserved populations in the world, the French-speaking people. In 2020, we had 10 video courses online. In 2023, we had 20 video courses online. This year, we hope to have completed a total of 24 video courses, and we plan to begin a major new course, Making Biblical Decisions, with a well-known theologian, John Frame. By 2026, our goal is to have all 32 video courses completed, which is the required coursework for a master's in theology. Today, there are 350 million French-speaking people in the world. However, by 2050, we are expecting that 750 million people will speak French on this planet, and French may be by then the most spoken language in the world. Our courses are already distributed in France, Quebec, North Africa, and mostly in French-speaking West Africa. Recently, there has been an unprecedented open door in one of these African French-speaking countries, the country of Cameroon. Cameroon lies in a strategic position at the crossroads between West Africa and Central Africa. It's bigger than the states of California. 2/3 of the population are under 30 years of age. French is one of its 2 official languages, and it is surrounded with other countries that speak French. As we work towards finishing all 32 courses in French, we are beginning to see the fruits of our past 14 years of labor. Our 20 completed theological video courses are like seeds already growing into the orchard that we have been working towards and praying for. Now here is one of the most recent incredible examples of it. The National Presbyterian Church of Cameroon has over 5 million members. The church has a long and rich history, but sadly, over the decades, it became very liberal. But over a year ago, the denomination made a stunning and courageous move and voted to return to orthodoxy. In their own words, they say, "We, as a denomination, want to return to Jesus Christ, to orthodoxy, and to the gospel." Friends, only God can do this kind of thing. They have already taken a strong stand against homosexual marriages and transgenderism. And they have chosen to use the 3rd Millennium courses that Huguenot Heritage has created in French to train and retrain their church leaders. Last year, our Huguenot Heritage partner in France, Daniel Odon, had a meeting with the moderator of the Presbyterian Church of Cameroon, Pastor Jean-Moïse Mbog-Baya. Daniel Odon and his team were invited to come to Yaoundé, capital of Cameroon. His arrival made the news with the national television. As a result of that historical meeting, we now have an official partnership between the Presbyterian Church of Cameroon and a coalition of Huguenot Heritage, the French Evangelical Reformed Church, and Audio-V. Daniel Odon will be directing and doing evangelism in the most remote parts of the country through his organization called Audio-V, which also distributes audio Bibles. They give out many different devices, including players and solar-powered projectors. Huguenot Heritage theological courses will be the main training tool on all the devices. We already gave Daniel Odon 200 thumb drives, each one loaded with 20 of our theological video courses. He regularly goes to Cameroon and hand-delivers these thumb drives to key leaders. The plan of the Presbyterian Church of Cameroon is to use our courses to train pastors, elders, deacons, and staff in the whole nation. Pastor Mbog Baya envisions the establishment of hundreds of small study centers all over the country. Over the past few months, they have already established 150 small Bible schools with a total of 1,500 students. And they say it's just a small beginning. 14 years ago, many of you saw the Plant an Orchard video. When I asked you then to help me to plant orchards of French-speaking, biblically trained leaders, I never dreamed that in such a short time we would have made, by God's grace, such amazing progress. Thank you for partnering with us in this new reformation.
Thank you so much. Christ Church has been an amazing tool of this by supporting heavily this ministry. And like I said, we're not done. Thank you so much.